Hello, everyone. Danny here today to talk to you about the book Love and Respect. The love she desires, the respect he desperately needs is the full title of the book. It's by Dr. Emerson. I'm not going to try to pronounce his last name because I know I will mispronounce it. Now, before I get started on the review, if you are someone who, like me, loves audiobooks and you're looking for a source to help you figure out prior to spending the money to purchase an audiobook if it's an audiobook that would actually appeal to you, subscribe, turn on notifications. It's what I do. Please. Okay, now to the book. I'm going to give a little history of myself because it's important to the value of this book. And if I come across sounding like I'm in any way, shape, or form bragging or trying to build myself up, I apologize. That is not my goal or intent at all. My goal is to make you aware of my history when it comes to books on marriage and books on relationships in general. My dad's a pastor. My dad was an amazing example of a husband and a father to me. I could not have asked for a better example to learn from how to be a good husband, how to be a good father. On top of that, since I was a teenager, I have been attending seminars and studying books that have to do with relationships, that have to do with how to be a better husband, a better father, a better leader, all the things that would apply to my role, because it's an area that interests me and it's something that's important to me. I firmly believe that if I am the best husband I can possibly be, I will have a good marriage. I will be rewarded for that effort on my part. So I've always made that effort. And it's been 26 years of a wonderful marriage to my absolute wonderful wife. What did we have to learn how to communicate and how to treat each other? Absolutely. But everything that I've learned from the books has contributed to that and helped with that. That being said, for the past 5 to 10 years, it has been very rare that I listen to a book where I feel like I learned a lot from the book. Most marriage books, now I'm talking specifically about marriage. I'm not talking about leadership or communication. There have been several leadership and communication books I've listened to in the last couple of years that I feel like I've learned a lot from. I'm talking specifically about marriage, which is a category that I've studied the longest. Most books on marriage that I've listened to over the last 5 to 10 years will bring up areas where my response will be, I need to work on that. I knew that, and I need to get better at that. It's that way with most books that have to do with personal development. This book as well. There were areas where you go, I need to remember that. I need to focus on that. I need to fix that. Rarely is there a book on marriage where I go, okay, I did not know that. I had no clue at all. And not only did I not know that, but I know immediately how I can apply that to who I am, to my marriage, to my relationship, to make me a better husband. That happened at least 4 times with this book that I went, okay, that I didn't know. And not only is that new, not only did that open up a whole universe of understanding, but I know immediately how I can apply that. And I'll give an example. So he talks about women and how they communicate differently from men and how they feel connections differently from women, about how women are whole, completely integrated beings who cannot compartmentalize like men. And somewhere in that section, an understanding of things that I do that I could do better to make my wife feel close, to make my wife feel like her and I are intimate, not in a sexual way, but in a truly intimate way, opened up. And I thought of a few examples where I could apply that. And here's an example I'll give. So my wife's a talker in the relationship. I'm actually not much of a talker at all. I'm a very introverted guy. I know that seems weird with my channel, but I'm talking to a phone. So I'm not talking to people. When I'm in a gathering with a lot of people, I tend to be the person who's standing there being quiet unless they're people I really know well or on a subject I'm truly excited about. So, hey, sorry, someone's walking by my truck there. I'll come home, and my wife's like a teapot that's just steamed to the max, but the little hole that the steam escapes through has been plugged, and the teapot's about to explode from the pressure inside of it. You unplug that little, and the whistle starts, and that whistle's not going to stop until all the steam and all the pressure is let out of that teapot. That's the way my wife is. I have actually understood that for a while now. So when I go home, I allow my wife to talk, and I listen, and I just keep my mouth shut. And it may take a half an hour, it may take an hour, however long it takes, she's going to talk. She's going to ask me questions. And I've learned to tell sometimes when she asks me questions, she's wanting and needing a longer response out of me. Sometimes she's asking, but she still has more she wants to say. She's not depressurized enough that she can listen. So I give a short, brief answer, and then she's back to talking. She'll finish talking. We'll go on with our evening. We'll have dinner. We'll sit down to watch TV or a movie or something like that, right? And in the middle, we're sitting there. We're watching TV. And turns out my wife wasn't done talking after all, because in the middle of the TV show, she starts talking. Just out of the blue. Just starts talking. Now, there was a time when that would have irritated me. But as I said, I've learned. My wife's like a tea kettle. That pressure has built up. She's not going to enjoy that TV show until she gets that out of her system. So, I'll pause it. I'll look at my wife. I'll listen. She will actually, when she's all done and she's got it out of her system, she will actually say, okay, thank you, honey. You can start it back up again. And I'll start it back up again. Now, that's a good way for a husband to handle that. If more husbands handled their wives that way, they'd have much happier wives. But I figured out from the book, there's an even better way for me to handle that. So what I've started doing, and it is surprising in life. You know, they say don't sweat the small stuff. That's bull crap. That is. It is surprising how often in life the tiniest little thing can make the hugest impact. And this is a small thing, but I can tell by her excitement, I can tell by the way her face lights up, that it is not small to her. It's only small to me. It's huge to her. What I do now, we're watching TV or a movie, she starts talking, I pause it, and then instead of looking at her, I actually turn my body to face her until she's done. And then we go back to the TV show. It's minuscule, the difference between me turning my head and me turning my body. But what I learned from the book is women, to feel like they're getting close and getting intimate, have to be facing each other. Men, we don't have to do that. If we're standing out in the yard chitty-chatting, we can be standing here talking side to side, not even looking at each other and having this whole long conversation, and walk away feeling like we're best of friends now because we spent 2 hours sitting there talking to each other, or an hour, or whatever. I mean, we're guys, right? We're side to side. Women aren't that way. They're face to face. If you watch two women and they're sitting and they're chatting, even if they're on a couch, and this is one of the things he brings out in the book, and having grown up with 3 sisters and been married for 26 years and all the women in my family, it's something that I'm aware of. I've just never paid attention. They can be sitting side by side on the couch, but when they talk, they will turn and face each other, because that's the way women are. There were at least 4 different things that I learned from this book that I was able to change, small things that had a huge impact on her. The book does have a section specifically for men and a section specifically for women. In the section specifically for men, the author tells the women, you can listen to this if you want to, but this section is not for you. And if you listen to this section, don't you dare start comparing your husband to this section and telling your husband, hey, you better change this, you better do, you know what I learned from this book, you're doing this wrong, you need to fix this. He gives the same warning with the section on women. Men, you can listen if you want to, but I'd actually recommend you don't, because you don't want to be comparing your wife to the book. Focus on you, fix you, and the rest will follow. It all starts with you. You can't change anyone else. You can only change yourself, and that is an absolute fact. You are responsible for you. You can only change you. Focus on you. Now, if it had not been for this review, I would not have listened to the section for women. But because of this review, and I knew I was going to do a review, I listened to the section for women. Because if he said something that just didn't ring true to me, I wanted to be able to mention it in the video and go, you know, this part here didn't really, nothing like that. Everything he said in the section didn't. Now, I am extremely blessed in the fact that my wife has been as dedicated to our marriage as I have. And any areas where she was disrespectful when we were first married, she has already corrected. So there was nothing that I could compare to her and go, well, my wife needs to fix this, or I wish my wife could fix this. That didn't happen once with that section of the book. I'm very fortunate and blessed to be married to who I'm married to. But there were multiple times when we have friends and I'd be thinking, oh, if so-and-so could listen to this book and change how she responded. It's the same way with the section for men. There were multiple times when I thought of buddies of mine and I was like, oh, if you could listen to that and change how you respond to your wife. And it was that way as well. So every bit of advice in the book, every bit of the book, even the spiritual aspects of the book. The author's a former pastor. This is a biblically based relationship book. The absolute best relationship books, bar none, are biblically based. And it doesn't matter. The relationship could be from a leadership angle. It could be from a parenting angle. It could be from a marriage angle. John Maxwell is a retired pastor. His leadership is biblically based. There's a reason he's as well known as he is. Brian Tracy is a Christian. His leadership is biblically based. All of your best come from a biblical aspect. So that's not a hindrance with this book. That is one of the things that makes this book so great. So if you're not a Christian, don't let that scare you off. The author narrates the book. This is one of those where you're very glad the author narrates the book. He's an experienced speaker. He used to be a pastor. He gives seminars all over the world. There's only one thing that he does in the book that there were times when I was just like, that's a little cheesy. He'll tell a joke and then he'll chuckle at himself. And you know it's a joke he's heard 1,000 times. He's told 1,000 times, so he's chuckling. So you, the listener, will know that it's meant to be humorous, and it at times comes across a little cheesy. Other than that, his narration was spot on. Excellent job. I cannot recommend this book, his other book, The Language of Love and Respect, or any of his seminars more. Whether you're a man, a woman, in a good marriage, in a bad marriage, single, hoping to get married and have a good marriage, whatever, get a hold of one of his books, listen to it, and don't listen to it from the angle of, hey, this is what my spouse needs to do. This is what, no. Listen to it from the angle of, what can I learn about me to make me a better spouse? If you like my channel, subscribe, turn on notifications. If you like the video, hit the like button. If you have any questions, comments, feedback, please send them in my direction. Enter them into the comments. But most importantly, absolutely most importantly, no matter what else you do today, make sure that today you listen to at least one really good audiobook. And I absolutely recommend any of Dr. Emerson's, last name I'm not going to try to pronounce because I know I'll mispronounce it, books on love and respect and marriage. Thank you. Have a great day.